Welcome to the Queer Witch Project, your resource for all things queer and witchy. I am Damona Peacock, a fabulous, non-binary, neurospicy, ordained queerdo with a fascination for all things cycles, symbolism, and patterns.
And I'm Moonkittee, your queer femme poly kitchen witch and proud geek. Today's topic is Queer Tarot Revisited, Minor Arcana Part 2. Whew, we have now, this is four. This is part four out of our Queer Tarot Revisited series. We have gone through the major arcana. We have touched on the first part of the minor arcana. So here we are at the second part of the minor arcana.
And we've got
And
three suits to get through.
and we've got three more suits. So we won't dive into what the minor arcana is and everything else. We've done that before. So go listen to our last episode if you want a little bit of a breakdown on the way that we each read minor arcana, because it's slightly different. Because again, it's always through the lens of the person who is both reading and receiving the message.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we're going to do is we're going to just go ahead and just start diving right in with that second suit of the minor arcana, which is wands.
Of fire.
Yes.
All right.
So, suit of wands is ruled by fire, which is the creative realm. So, with
Passion.
creativity and passion. So that being
Taking
said,
action. Yeah.
before we get there, when you see a wand come up, when you're just in that first glance, you see a wand card come up, what's the first thing that comes into your head?
How are we going to take action on this?
Hmm.
So if somebody has a particular flavor of query, like career, and they get
Hmm.
a whole bunch of wands, I'm like, well, what are you going to do about it? How are we going to take action? A lot of it's about creativity and passion, but the wands is kind of like a do something is what I
Hmm.
get.
I get abracadabra.
I like that.
Abracadabra, what is driving you? What do you want to happen? Because here's your momentum, here's your energy, what's going to move you forward. And aside from abracadabra, not only being a magician, as in stage magician thing, it is actually a very powerful spell that has been used for centuries to manifest motion and movement. So
Interesting.
fire is fully abracadabra for me. And there's a great
It's,
song by Lady Gaga that came out relatively recently
oh,
that's
you're
also
right.
along that, which is, I believe, again, slight tangent, a complete total spell for the political climate where we are currently in. It is mwah, chef's kiss, abracadabra. Here we go.
Do love me some Queen Gaga.
Hmm.
All right, so with the Aces of Wands, it is the spark of creativity, inspiration. It can also be bringing good news, pointing towards the potential or talent that you bring. The thing about the aces is it's like the pure best and worst of that element of that energy. It's the pure unfiltered energy of the fire of the wand. So it's like boom, you are basically struck with the lightning of inspiration with the
Hmm.
ace.
Now, the two is about decisions, options. And again, here you've got twos or dualities. You've got people coming in, you've got companions, you've got aspects. So now you got to make a decision. What are your options? You're feeling the wanderlust, you're feeling a little bit restless, you've got anticipation, you know you want to do something. This is that energy of the two is now you got to make the decision. You got that spark.
Mm-hmm.
Now you got to make the decision about where you're going to go with it and what you're going to do.
And with three, again, what are you doing about it? Well, it's travel, foresight, spreading your wings and flying, heading off on an adventure. The three is the number of creation and manifestation, and the fire is creation and manifestation. So you've got that right on top of each other. It's go forth. Threes often will be symbolic of travel. It's one of the several minor arcana cards that you will find if you're expecting to be traveling at some point.
Mhm. And the four, because we talked about fours being a pause, right? A moment of rest and relaxation. When you're talking about the fours out of the suit of wands, now you're really talking about coming home. You've done that first little burst of travel. You've got the goals underneath you. You're coming home for the first time. You're telling everyone about what you've learned on this
Mm-hmm.
journey that you were just on. It's that reunion at happy events. It can also be community spirit because now you're coming back to your community and telling about all the cool things that you did. You're not done yet, but you're just taking that first breather of coming home. It's coming home
Mm-hmm.
after a vacation or after a school trip or something back and telling people all about what you just learned and that excitement and that creativity. You got more places to go, but you celebrate the little wins that come out of it.
Gotta put yourself out there, and then you always have to come back and touch base or touch
Hmm.
grass. And then we get the fives, and like we talked about, the fives are always like the challenging numbers in the minor arcana. So with the five of swords, we're talking about conflict and fighting and struggle and aggression, and it's unlike the swords where it's all a lot of fighting. But this is about like the physical frustration and aggression of it all, but also the idea that there's competition out there,
Hmm.
and competition isn't always a bad thing.
Mm-mm.
Sometimes it challenges us to become stronger, to become more fierce, to light that fire in us, to even better our own records. So the Five of Wands, it's about conflict, struggle, and competition, but I think it's also to forge a stronger competitor.
Hmm. It's what drives you to move and keep growing.
Yep.
And again, because out of that conflict comes that six. And we talked about sixes being momentum after the struggle. And now you've got that competition will lead you to success and victory and applause
Yep.
and riding high. Okay, you know what? I made it through that conflict. I know what I need to do next. Now I know the path I'm on. I'm going to celebrate my successes. And it's six in this case is a lot about pride and realizing that the reason you had competition is there was a worthwhile, valid idea in what you had. So now it's taking pride in what you've doing and what you've got, what you've accomplished so far, where you're still going to go, and now really owning what you're doing and where you're going with it.
And then we move on to the seven, and the seven being kind of like a very spiritual number. The seven of wands is about standing up for what you believe in and having gained a broader perspective through, all these actions that you've taken. And what are you passionate about, and standing up for that,
Hmm.
taking a stand for your perspective, for your passions, for what you believe in.
Are you strong enough of will to defend the creativity and the project that you are working on? This thing that you're setting in motion, are you strong enough to defend it? Um,
Because,
because the eights are going to tell you that you are gaining momentum. Your hard work is starting to really pay off. And now it becomes about a speed. It's a
yes.
hastiness, a speed. Your momentum is going so fast that if you don't believe in what you're doing, you're going to overturn the cart and you're going to crash. It is 10 is that really fast moving, almost obsession to the point to get results for what you're doing. That is the highest point of your drive. You are so close, and now you just have to just keep pushing through and move
And when
move that
I
momentum forward.
when I see the Eight of Wands, I always would tell people to expect things to start moving fast at this point.
Hmm.
Sometimes there are cards that are, pointing towards stop, pause,
Hmm.
move slow, or take, nope, this one is not that. This one is go, go, go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we go to the nine. You're kind of battle weary. You've gone through a lot, but you have to kind of shore up and be persistent, gather your strength because you know your limit. You're at the finale, but you're not through it yet. It's
Hmm.
just the beginning of the end. So you have to get that last wind. You can see the finish line. You can see the
Hmm.
finish line. And so you're just going to go harder.
Hmm.
That would be the nine of wands.
Which takes you to the 10. And this one's interesting because in the last thing you think you push towards completion and it's great. But in this case, the 10 of wands is actually about the flip side. Now it's talking about being overburdened, overloaded, taken for granted, and you're struggling. Somewhere
Burnout.
along the way, you lost your way. And you
Yeah.
thought what you were doing, you were pushing, you were driving for something like this, and all of a sudden you get there and it's like, oh my God, I'm overwhelmed. This is just too much. Which is interesting because, again, you think of like, okay, it's all going to be positive, positive, positive. And you get to this and it's like, no, this is the actual other portion. Sometimes the end comes because you're overburdened. Sometimes you took
Yeah.
on too much, you overloaded yourself, and the thought what you were trying to achieve was not what you wanted. You lost sight in the direction of where you really actually wanted to go.
Yes, again, where the nines can be more of a completion of a cycle, sometimes the tens, especially in the wands, is oversaturation.
Hmm.
Too much of a good thing, too much of the fire energy, and then all of a sudden you're responsible for everything and you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. So yeah, the ten of wands can be a sign to put some stuff down.
Hmm.
Where the nine of wands is you're not quite there yet. Ten is like, whoa, 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 whoa. You've
Yeah,
done too much.
exactly.
And moving into the court cards, the
Hmm.
court are personas, our personalities, with the page of wands. That's really getting into touch with what you're passionate about. It's the very optimistic, very fiery, free thinking, following your passions. That's what I think. Lovable rogue, a bringer of
Hmm.
good news, but really getting to know what drives you.
Hmm.
That would be the message of the page.
And from the page, we move into the knight. And the knight is your free spirit because the knight of fire, again, we're talking about this creative realm. They just want to see what's out there. They are adventurous. They are ready to dive in. They can sometimes be a little bit hasty, but they can also be revolutionary because if they get something in their mind and they know they're just going to go with it and they're going to pursue it with all the passion that the fire energy brings to it. So they are take risks. They're also often very charming because fire signs tend to have that charmingness and quality and the energy that you want to be around them. So that knight is just the free spirit going forward. They are the revolutionary that's going to lead the way, take charge, and take the banner into the
Hmm.
fight of what's coming back or what's coming next for the thing that they believe in.
So if the page is going internal to find the passion and the knight is pursuing the passion, the queen is the passion, if you ask me. She embodies the passion. She is vivacious, she's passionate, she's independent, she's optimistic, and she is taking charge of life. She's no nonsense. She will get it done with her
Hmm.
charm, her grace, or her bare hands. One way or another, this queen is getting it done.
And to me, this is the next natural progression of that. Okay, she's charming, she's going to get it done. Now you go into the king, and he has it done. He has no problem daring to be different because he is different and he owns that he's different. He is the natural born leader. The king is the natural born leader, whether it's he or she or they or
Yep.
whatever pronouns you are. It's, again, gender is not a thing when we're talking about this kind of energy. The king is, especially with the fire element in many, many ways, that whatever you are passionate about, if the queen embodies it, he embodies it and explodes it outwards. So he'll take it and he will tell you all about it because he's not afraid. He's energetic, he's confident, and he's just going to be who he is and give no flying F's about it at all.
I love it. So we've been through our last episode. We started with the air, which is like the
Hmm.
light is air, right? The
Hmm.
mind, the intellect, the thoughts, the fluffiest. And then we're getting into now action, fire, passion,
Hmm.
things that have a little bit more substance. What are you doing about it? You can think all the things you want, but what are you
Hmm.
doing about it?
Hmm.
And then comes the next one that gets a little bit heavier in density, and that is water. So
Hmm.
it's not as solid as earth. It has a flow to it, but it's full of the feelings. So what's the first thing that comes up for you when you think about the cup cards?
Let's get squishy.
Let's get squishy now.
Exactly. It is time to get squishy. We are talking about cups. We're gonna dive into our feelings. So be
Yep.
prepared to get squishy.
Yep. I am a Cancerian.
Hmm.
So I am a water baby. I love anything water. And I am a very emotional person. And anytime a cup of any number comes up for someone, I like to ask, so what are you feeling? What are you feeling around this? And a lot of people aren't necessarily comfortable talking about feelings. They want
Mm-hmm.
to logic their way out of a problem.
Mm-hmm.
They want to have a plan and take action. But we cannot neglect our feelings. They are very important messengers. We don't want to always be acting on them either,
Mm-hmm.
but it is a very important part of the human experience, and I think that we need to value feelings. So cups are one of my favorite ones to deal with. Yeah.
So with cups, with aces, now this is fun. I love the Ace of Cups because this is newness. This is new relationships, new romance, new love. It's the conception of a new thing that's just gonna bring and make your heart all happy. It's
Yep.
really about that new beginning, new something that's just going to bring you
Mm-hmm.
love and all the feels.
NRE.
Oh, it's
New,
total
but
NRE. New
it doesn't have to
relationship
be a
energy.
romantic, yep, it doesn't have to be a romantic relationship either. You could have like a new love, a new passion for a
Hmm.
craft
Hmm.
or for a job or for a child or for a pet,
Hmm.
It's just all about that, new love. And then, moving from the one to the two, and the two's always being about duality and companionship. Now it is about having a partner in
Hmm.
love, an engagement, a partnership, a romantic partnership. This can be you may be starting a relationship card between
Hmm.
the ace or the two. Building partnerships, creating unity, compatibility, making, balance, mutual respect for each other, and engagement in marriages can fall under the realm of the partnership of the
Hmm.
two with the cups.
Right. And don't be afraid to think this is always going to be about romantic love as well, because if you're asking for a career reading and the Two of Cups
Hmm.
comes up, it's less likely going to be about a romantic connection, but more about a business connection or something else. So again, all of these things that we're talking about, we're looking at through the lens of what the question that is being asked, as well as the
Hmm.
elements that are being applied. So
Hmm.
from the two, we go into the three. And threes are about coming back. Reunions, their celebrations, their parties. These are things that are happening.
I
They're
love the
about
Three of Cups.
connections, their gatherings, their festivities. It's all the good, fun things that happen when you've developed a great partnership with someone. Now it gets to expand into the next stage.
It's to me, Three of Cups is so much about why we build community
Mm-hmm.
because it feels the joy and happiness that comes in when you have that, not just a companion or one partner, but when you have, a whole bunch of people around that love you
And queer
or that
community,
you,
especially, is
oh,
very much a
100%.
Three of Cups kind of embodiment
It
because it
is.
is so much love when you go to Pride festivals and you're in this kind of queer community. The Three of Cups is just there, it's just love overflowing.
All right, so the Four of Cups. Well, here's the thing about emotions.
Hmm.
They also, much like swords, go both ways. And while we can feel joy and happy and celebratory in the three, the four and the five are the other side of feelings. So the four is often talking about regrets, missed opportunities, really getting caught in your feelings, self-absorption, emotional delusion, and even maybe just bored with life because, ennui. That's the word I was thinking,
Ennui.
ennui. And those feelings are valid too sometimes.
Hmm. Sometimes life just feels meh.
Yeah, yeah.
It's real.
And it's okay to acknowledge that, to have a moment of just like, you know what? I don't feel great about this. I
Hmm.
feel kind of meh.
And that's where, again, that four is that pause that makes you
Yeah.
think. And sometimes that pause is like, okay, meh, meh, I'm bored.
Yeah.
Okay, so what am I going to do about it? And
Hmm.
that's where you come into the five. And sometimes what you do about it is you lose it, which can
Hmm.
sometimes lead to loss or grief or unwelcome change. So you were bored, so you did something, but oh, that was not what I was expecting. And now I'm grieving the loss of something that I didn't expect. Or there's some emotional baggage that comes into this. It's like suddenly like, hey, here's all the things that I didn't tell you about, and here's the stuff that comes with the flip side of the happiness is that emotional baggage and emotional instability. Sometimes meh leads to I don't know what to do next and
I
just emotional
always
overwhelming.
I always call the Five of Cups the depression
Mm-hmm.
card. And the thing about the Five of Cups is so often it's depicted as three cups that are spilled are tipped over and spilled water out, but there's
Hmm.
still two cups holding water that aren't spilled. And but the full focus of the character on the card is looking at those three spilled cups.
Hmm.
Like they are literally over there crying over their spilt milk, and we forget, when you are depressed, you don't see the goodness in your life. You don't
Hmm.
see the things that you have to be grateful about because you're just so sad or despondent over, those three spilled cups. And then out of the fives, we go to the six. And the Six of Cups is literally probably one of my most favoriteest cards ever. It's when I think of the Six of Cups, I always think of kittens for some reason. It's just the
I
kitten
love it.
card to me. But it's childhood nostalgia, but that feeling of coming home, of safety, of family, past influences, youthfulness, innocence, family support, just the good feelings that you get from your child self,
Hmm.
the going back and really like romanticizing the childhood. It was so good being why did we have to become adults and pay bills and have jobs and have to drive cars? Like it was so much easier when we were kids and all we had to do was ride our bikes down the street and, blah, 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 blah. So that's kind of like the Six of Cups to me. It's like that
Hmm.
childhood nostalgia, but it's also just that like that feeling of coming home and having an emotional, maybe just doing something for your inner child kind of
Hmm.
card.
Exactly. And being able to recognize that some of the aspects of our childhood are necessary. You need that innocent joy and innocent feel of emotions that you got as a child to help you progress sometimes. Remembering the past and letting that help influence where you're going. Because the seven is kind of the next step of that. You've got lots of options, but you're not sure where you're going to go with any of them. It's a lot of procrastination. It's a lot of wishful thinking and what am I going to do next? I'm now living in this area of the six, so I'm going back to my childhood memories and all the good feels that were there, but where do I go next? And the
Mm-hmm.
seven
Mm-hmm.
is about that. Are you hanging on to procrastinating? Are you so happy and satisfied where you're at that you're not quite ready to push on to the next thing? There's lots of options before you. You can take
Yeah.
many different emotional routes, but you're choosing not to go anywhere, or
Mm-hmm.
you're on the verge of potentially procrastinating where you know you need to go because you don't want to go there yet. Because right where
Yeah,
you're at
I always see the Seven of Cups as like you're spoiled for options, but you're also paralyzed with
feels comfy.
decision. But when I see that come up, I always tell people like, which one of these seven cups it is that's
Hmm.
your cup of tea. So you have to really go inward and ask yourself,
Hmm.
and give yourself permission to choose the one of the many out
Hmm.
of the many that you know is right for you. Because when you move into the eight, you've got, feelings of abandonment, walking away from something, letting go, knowing that you have to choose one out of the seven cups, that you're leaving the other six behind. You
Hmm.
have to move forward. The Eight of Cups gives you some introspection, but also, a little bit of fatigue because it's been a long journey and you've been through the emotional roller coaster at this
Hmm.
point, the ups and the downs.
Exactly. And from the eight, after again, you're going through this, you are tired. You are so tired. You're fatigued. You've walked away from so many things that could have happened. And now you're into that nine, and suddenly you find out your wishes are actually starting to come true. You are starting to have that happiness and satisfaction. You've worked through the grief of letting the other things go and realize that you are walking the right path. You are
Mhm.
where you are supposed to be emotionally, and now you get that satisfaction. You're getting confidence. You're getting triumph in that emotional aspect. So it's really coming forward. It's coming to that kind of completion cycle where it's just bringing you joy.
It's one of my favorite cards. It always has like a rainbow on it, or
Mm-hmm.
looking for rainbows. But I also, when the nine comes up, I always think wishes come true. What is it that you wish for?
Mm-hmm.
What is your best? We always so prepare ourselves for the worst case scenario to happen, but like, are we prepared for the best case scenario? Can you recognize your best case scenario?
Mm-hmm.
That's like the Nine of Cups is one of my favorite nine cards because it really is the full embodiment of that completion cycle of
Mm-hmm.
for better. Yeah. And even the Ten of Cups doesn't go for the worst. The Ten of Cups is like you got your wishes come true, and then you get to go take it back to your family and share your abundance
Mm-hmm.
with them. So it's all about, really that wider community and having that abundance and happiness and homecomings and celebrating those long-term relationships that have made it through the entire emotional roller
Mm-hmm.
coaster, and fulfilling that sense of destiny and harmony and just like really a good harvest. A
Mm-hmm.
really good harvest where everybody is well fed from it and everybody has partied out and that all the wishes that came true in the nine benefit the all, all the good feels in the
Mm-hmm.
10.
And then we come to the court, and you've got the page. And the page of cups is really your inner child. This is the child that just feels. Right, wrong, whatever it may be, they are just feeling everything. They are so
Mm-hmm.
sensitive. They are the dreamer. There is a naivete to it. It's idealistic. And oftentimes it's your inner voice that sometimes we quash and everything else. But the page of cups is your inner child.
Yeah, well, if the Page of Cups is the inner child, then the Knight of Cups is the teenager going through puberty.
Yes.
And this Casanova over here becoming like the helpless romantic, but like the chivalrous, like, charm and attraction and sweep you off your feet and, broad romantic gestures and,
They are
you
the
know,
knights in the fairy tales,
yeah, yep,
searching for their lady fair.
yeah. Sweet little Casanovas.
Hmm. And then from the knight, we have the queen. Now, the Queen of Cups. Like I said, I know you embody her in so many ways, but she is the ultimate in loving and warm and intuitive. She encompasses beauty. She embodies beauty in all of its forms. And she is inspirational. She is a healer. She is all of those things that understands the emotional complex and roller coaster and ride that you've just been through. And she understands it and she is wise. But she is there to be all of that.
She's emotional intelligence. That's who she
Hmm.
is. She is the emotional intelligent one. And so then we get the King of Cups. He is very calm, caring, wise, very tolerant, very, humanistic. He's devoted, generous, and he is a spiritual guide. And truthfully, in a good way, when I want to say, who's your daddy? The King of Cups is my daddy because he is the daddy that cares,
Hmm.
He rules, yes, but he rules compassionately. He rules justly, and he brings the good feels
Hmm.
of care and reciprocity. So he's a very good companion for the Queen of Cups.
Hmm.
It's a family full of love. Love and
Yes.
lovers. That's what I would
Hmm.
say.
All
Yeah.
right. So now we've gone through cups. We are down to our fourth and final suit
The
of
most
the minor
dense.
arcana, and it's very dense. And this one is fun because it has so many different things that it goes by, with pentacles and coins being only two of the most common, and but there's discs, there's so many other things that come around with it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the suit that's ruled by Earth. So this is the
Yes.
material realm. So this is career. This is life stuff. This is your life
Mm-hmm.
path. The basics, like you said, the physical plane around you. We could love to be able to live in our emotions and our passions and our drive and all that kind of stuff, but we still need some place to rest our head. We still need
Mm-hmm.
food for our body. We still need money to be able to do what we need to do. So this is the material realm of it. And sometimes it gets a bad rap, but it's just as necessary as every other realm that's in
Mm-hmm.
there. So with that being said, what do you think of when you get a pentacle card?
So when air is intellect, so living in our head, you're saying,
Hmm.
or the cups being the emotions living in our heart, or the fire of the wands living with our passion, our spark of life. To me, Pentacles is living in a body.
Hmm.
It's living in manifestation. And it's sometimes about real world things. Like you have to pay the bills. You
Hmm.
have to figure out a way of how you're going to feed yourself. How are you going to shelter yourself? So it's like very practical, but it's also like soul meets body. Like,
Hmm.
oh, if I could just be free from this whole body thing, life would be easier. But we have to make peace with the fact that we are an embodied spirit. And
Hmm.
that's what I think of with the Pentacles, the lessons of the Pentacles.
Hmm.
What about
Yep.
you?
I think of what is your path before you? Where are you headed?
Mm,
Because like I said, I tend to think of this as a life path because you are now, like I said, the body that you're embodying. Where are you going to go? What are the next steps? What are the next things that are going to happen to this body of yours?
One foot in front of the other.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. So the ace, with all that, the ace of pentacles, ace of earth, is about new beginnings once again, because it's an ace and it's all about starting the journey out. But now we're talking about your financial opportunities, starting a new job, starting a new way of making money, a new hobby, learning, picking up a new craft, learning how to do something new. But it's usually very physical, and it usually will benefit you in some way.
And from there, we go into the two of coins. And this is oftentimes depicted as a juggler. With different types of things. And it's talking about adaptability. You're juggling your life, you're juggling your finances, you're juggling what future experiences you're going to have. It's trying to find that balance and that adaptability in the ups and downs. Because again, life is never always smooth and happy. You're going to have ups and downs. You're going to have to deal with it. This is about finding your way to juggle those as you're going along.
Yep. And as you're learning to do the financial juggling, you will possibly, in the Three of Pentacles, find your way into some kind of apprenticeships or learning, studying, growth opportunities, recognizing that you have to master a skill in order to make your way through the world. You're not born a master. You have to seek out that kind of those opportunities, that education, that growth. So apprenticeships.
And then you get to the four. And again, fours are talking about pauses, and fours are about holding on. In this case, financial, whether you're holding on to people, possessions, you're holding on to issues, you're hoarding. Sometimes it's about hoarding, sometimes it's about saving. So it's really about all those kinds of things. What are you holding on to? And is holding on to it going to serve you and serve where you need to go next?
Yeah. Very smart. And then we go on to the five, our challenge number, our strife. And of course, with the pentacles or coins, we're talking about financial hardship, poverty, a change in your financial circumstances, adversity, struggle. And between the four and the five, it's also you want to look at what you're doing with money. Are you being generous? Are you being stingy? Are you helping people who are less than, or are you the people who are less than who need some assistance? And just know that whatever side you find yourself on now, you can be on the other side in the next phase of life. So remember, if you had to, if you had to accept help in the past, that it's, good to give help in the future to kind of pay that back. But the Five of Cups is very much looking at the poverty of it all and the
Coins.
loss.
Yeah. And that's like you just said from Five of Coins, in that hardship, the Six of Coins is about generosity.
Yep.
It's about giving back. It's about giving gifts without expectation of anything else. It is gifting. It is really about support. Sometimes it's a reward for hard work. You went through that financial struggle. You are dealing with it. Now here's your reward for getting through it, is getting back on track and where you need to go. This is gifts given without intent of reciprocation.
Yep. And so then we move on to the seven, and it's coming to fruition, harvest time. Your harvest is manifested, your ideas are manifesting. Sometimes it takes patience, but you are at the point where you get to reap what you have sown, hopefully for the better.
Yes, because it can be for the worse. If you've sown the negative, potentially you will reap that as well.
That's what you got to really look at, like in the four. Are you hoarding your money, or are you saving? Have you lost your money in the five? Are you being generous and letting things flow out and back in the six? Because in the seven, you're going to reap what you sow.
But the eight, when you take that eight, now you were the apprentice. You worked through what you needed to do. Now you are the master of your trade.
Yay.
You've done the hard work. Now you've got your reputation. Again, for good or ill. Did you reap the benefits? Now you have a positive relationship? Or were you the hoarder miser? Now you have a negative reputation, rather. It's really about that mastery and where you're at. Are you achieving your goals? What's your productivity? It's about your reputation and how you have shown that you have become the master of what you do, the master of yourself.
And then to complete that cycle, because eights are about self-mastery, and then the nines are the completion of the cycle, you have gained your financial independence. You have gained your success and prosperity. You have worked towards a maturity and sophistication. But all of the hard work and all of your evaluating your relationship to money and survival has starting to pay off here at the of Pentacles. It's really a sign of good things.
Hmm.
Either good things coming your way or looking at the good things that you have in your life.
Hmm. And with good things, again, sometimes you get the 10, and then sometimes there's working hard for what you're getting and earning what you've soared. And then sometimes you just get lucky and you get unexpected financial windfalls, or you get an
Mhm.
inheritance or affluence or some other sort of long-term thing that comes through that provides long-term stability. And the 10 of coins, pentacles, all of those are really about, again, that idea of, okay, sometimes you got lucky, and this time you're really getting lucky in a windfall that is coming. You had that end of the cycle in the 9. Here's just a little bonus. Here's the bonus check at
Yep.
the end of the year that you got for completing the cycle so well.
All right. And so then we move into the court cards, our people in the pages and the
Hmm.
pentacles, or in the coins and the pentacles. And we got the page, back to kind of like our ace, the solid beginning, developing a plan, seeking training, figuring out your budget, and fully embodying life by living a healthy lifestyle.
Hmm. Which takes you to your night, which is about patience and persistence, because a healthy lifestyle, whatever that may be for you, doesn't come overnight. You have to keep doing it. You have to finish what you start. You have to make sure that if you want your dreams to come true, you have to work at them. This is about working. You have to keep going and you have to keep doing these things in order to achieve what you want.
All right, and then we come in with the Queen of Pentacles, and she is bougie. She likes the finer things in
Hmm.
life. But look, she worked hard to get to where she's at, so you can't deny her just rewards. She is financially independent. She is a nurturing and generous with her coin, with her success, with her material abundance, but she also likes to live the life of luxury and to reap what the benefits of all of the hard work that she has put in.
Hmm. And from the queen, we have the king, and he is the same thing. He is enterprising. He got that way because he was dependable. His hard work is paying off. He was cautious at times when he needed to be cautious, and he took risks when he needed to take risks. So he's gotten to the point where he's got everything that he wants because he worked hard to do so.
So you're telling
And
me the King and Queen of Pentacles are the sugar mommy and sugar daddies?
sometimes, yeah,
I'm
they can be. They can absolutely be so.
saying.
Generous with the gifts, but again, oftentimes they work hard.
Yeah.
It's not giving because it came from independent wealth and everything else. This is a sense of coming into something, and the reason you can give is because you did the work. You did the
Yeah.
work to get to where you are. You earned every bit, and now you get to enjoy the amazing feeling or the amazing emotion of being generous and sharing that with
Mhm.
others.
Which is a good feeling. And I know that when I experience successes, I look for ways in which that I can share be generous with them, because
Hmm.
I definitely am not one to hoard
Hmm.
the resources, I believe that they should be, distributed well.
And I know
So
that I've had a lot of help along my path to get where I am. So now that I'm in a
same.
place where I can help others, I love to be able to do so. This is my chance to give back for all the things that people helped me with.
It literally does take a village to get through this thing called life. In the childhood phase or the adult phase or the elderly phase, it takes a village we're not meant to do this alone. So it's important to look at the players in our lives. And that's what I love about all the court cards of the minor arcana,
Hmm.
is because even though it can be you or an aspect of you, it can also be talking about looking at the people that you have around in your life. So,
Hmm.
and, building appreciation for them as well.
Absolutely.
We aren't meant to do this alone.
No. Now we've made it through all the cards, all
Yay!
78 of the
I
cards.
think we can
Woohoo!
do it.
But there is a really important thing that we have not touched on.
Oh,
And this is something that is highly controversial because not every reader does it. And that is the concept of reversals. So we're
mm.
going to go and we're going to go through all those cards again and read you all of the reversal
No,
numbers. No,
we are
kidding.
not.
No, we're not.
You're
Another four-part
funny.
series of reversals. No, 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 no. But let's talk a little bit about reversals really quick. And do you read reversals in your readings?
Okay, so I'm kind of weird about reversals. A lot of people just shuffle their cards, they don't care, whatever, willy-nilly, blah blah blah, and if you get reversals, we'll read them as a reversal, whatever. I am actually meticulous about setting my cards up so that they're all facing the same way. So there's no reversals in my deck at all.
Hmm.
Um, when I hand them to someone to shuffle. When I'm giving readings, especially in person, if it's just me over the phone or over email or over, messages, I'll shuffle for them. But I eliminate the possibility of reversals happening as much as I can. Therefore, if a reversal does happen, it was meant to be that way.
Mm-hmm.
It is important to look at it then because I make sure it doesn't happen willy-nilly. It doesn't just happen. All of my cards. So I hand it to you, you shuffle it up, and then you flip the cards out, and somehow you got some reversals. Let's look at that. And when I do see, so I try to prevent the reversals because I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to deal with them.
Mm-hmm.
So if they come up, it's because it's important. It's persistent. It means
Mm-hmm.
you really do need to look at this as now. Sometimes cards can have their own separate like interpretation if it's reversed, or you can interpret it as the card's meaning, but in a reversed way. So often, what I mean by in a reversed way is for me is looking at either that energy is blocked. You're not bringing this energy in because it's blocked, but it's knocking on your door and it's saying you need it, or it's in shadow. It's something it's beyond your awareness, but it's kind of peeking through and it's saying, hey, I'm kind of important, or
Mm-hmm.
you're not paying attention to me and you should be. So there's really all kinds of different ways that you can interpret a reversed card. But I personally try not to get them. And then
Mm-hmm.
if they do happen, I feel like, okay, that's significant.
For me, it depends. It really depends. I also try not to do reversals for the most part. I don't meticulously change my cards, so I know things going. But when I'm reading, I'm always going to be looking at the nature of the querent. And sometimes I just know in my hand whether it's meant to be read as a
Mm,
reversal or it's meant to be read forward and just got put in there backwards because of the way I shuffle. So I always know. So sometimes for one person, I'll read a reversal on a card that I wouldn't reversal for on another person. It really
interesting.
depends on the questionnaire and what their question is about, that whether or not I'll read a reversal to it. And when I do read the reversal, tend to read it as, like you said, as a shadow aspect, in that what is it that's hidden that hasn't quite come to light yet?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it a lesser intensity of something?
Mm.
So, for example, like if I get a three of swords, if I get a reversal on that, now you've got the swords coming in the heart, you flip it up, the swords are falling out of the heart. So that
Uh-huh.
is something that I would read necessarily because now you've already gone through the heartbreak. And now the swords are falling out, and it's time to really start the process of healing. Rather than
Mm-hmm.
being deeply centered in it, you're now at the point where you can kind of start to heal from the wounds that you had and deal with it. Same thing with like the lovers reversed. It can be like, hey, different kind of meanings, or maybe there's less than you think. But like the lovers reversed to me tends to me read more obsession.
Mm.
So it's like now it becomes the
A
shadow
shadow aspect.
aspect
Yep.
of what the lovers is, because obsession. And you got to be responsible about your desires, because just because you feel it doesn't mean you are entitled to it.
Right.
So there are other cards, like I rarely read like strength or the justice or um a lot of the other like struggle cards or minor arcans. I rarely read them reversed, but when I do,
Mm.
it's because like very clear meaning has come out for that reversal when I'm
I can
pulling
also
and
get
doing the interpretation of the cards.
I also get the sense that it could mean that you're either already through that energy or you need to be bringing it in because it's
Hmm.
lacking.
Right.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
again,
again, as with everything else in tarot, it's really up to user interpretation, user
hmm
approach. It's different for everybody. We all have different relationships to how these cards, how we work with these cards, and how they work for us.
hmm
So that would be a really good question of the day for the audience. How do you read reversals as you're listening to this? What is your approach to if you get a lot of reversals in a reading?
hmm
What does that mean for you? I'd be very curious to see what other people, what their approaches are.
And with tarot, we've been talking about tarot, and tarot is a form of cartomancy, which is card-based divination. And in the very beginning, 4 episodes ago, I said we're going to do 4, maybe 5 episodes of this. And I wanted to clarify what that and 5-ish means, because tarot is, again, just one tiny portion of all of this kind of thing. And the flip side, and something that I know I use and you use as well, is not only tarot decks, but oracle decks. And every reading that I'm doing, I'm not just doing tarot, I am pairing it with oracle, because that is the way that
Okay.
I tend to look at things.
So one of the questions that I get asked as a tarot reader
Hmm.
a lot, and I know we both have our own answer to this, but what's the difference between tarot and oracle? A tarot deck and an oracle deck. What's the difference?
To me, the tarot is more on a structured framework
Yep.
based on an existing, again, the existing RWS structure. For better or for worse, it is, most tarot is based loosely or tightly on that thing. Whereas an oracle deck is much more of an intuition deck. It is, every oracle deck is different. There might be common cards or between oracle decks, but there is no common system in any oracle deck.
Yes.
So oracle decks tend to focus around a theme
Yes.
versus tarot around a structure. So that's why I read both, because there's a theme to something with the querent, and that's where the overarching theme and that intuition comes through in the oracle deck.
Yep, very much that. I That's kind of my answer too, is like a tarot deck is usually loosely or less loosely, very strictly based on that structure of tarot where you've got the 22 major arcana
Hmm.
and or loosely, right? So sometimes they add an extra card in there. And then you have the minor arcanas. And so all tarot decks are similar in the sense that they're all going to have some kind of form of the structure of tarot. Whereas oracle decks can be whatever the creator wants them to be. They can be
Hmm.
whatever theme that the creator wants to explore. So it can be colors, or it can be archetypes, or it can be based on alchemy, or it can be based on the liminal spaces. Like, I'm just trying to think of all my
Hmm.
favorite decks.
Yeah.
So and they can work together. So a lot of times when I'm giving readings, I will grab a tarot deck and an oracle deck or two,
Hmm.
and then they all pair well, really, because
Hmm.
they just have, it's amazing to see how a card that isn't in the tarot structure can complement a
Hmm.
message from the tarot.
Yes.
And that's why I love working with both tarot and oracle,
Hmm.
and often working with them together.
Yes. And there are tarot readers who look down on oracle readers, and I think that's silly, because again,
Hmm.
there's no one true way for any of this. So you find what works for you. I, again,
Yep.
oftentimes I will do tarot, oracle, and I do a charm, because again, I have a
Yes.
charm divination system that I use. So it's really about all these things coming together and finding what works best for you. If you want to go down this road, whether you're getting a reading from someone, or whether you want to read for yourself, or whether you want to read for others.
And so are we going to do a fifth episode on oracle cards and oracle decks? Is that the
Yes. So,
plan?
so
Okay.
yes, our next episode, not tarot, but tarot adjacent. So stay tuned
Yay.
for that one.
And that, I think we should talk about how we acquire decks too.
Mm, yeah,
Like,
there's more of that
because
coming
there's a
in.
lot of mythology around how people should get their first deck and all that. So we should unpack some of that in the next. So, yep, welcome to our 4 or 5 part
Ish, yeah.
episodes on right? Because, like I said at the beginning of this journey that we've just been on, this fool's journey, when I remember saying at the beginning, is that I could probably do a whole podcast on
Hmm.
just on tarot
Right.
and divination and the beauty of, and I just think it's because it's necessary for us to sometimes use tools to facilitate these conversations, that it's
Hmm.
really good for our souls to engage in.
Absolutely.
So
So,
thank
but
you
for
for joining me.
now, we will take a break.
Yeah. Yeah, because we are done. All right, so it's a good time to pause and say thank you for listening to the Queer Witch Project. And if you like what you hear, make sure you're giving us some of those thumbs up and subscribes and turn your alerts on, and make sure you don't miss an episode of us coming up, and leave us some comments and tell us how you read reversals in tarot.
Mhm. And if there's a topic you want to know more about or an episode topic you would like to suggest, contact us at thequeerwitchproject@gmail.com or find us on TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram with the handle @queerwitchproject. We upload every other week. And remember, queerness is a key to magic.
Be yourself and love rebelliously. Bye.
Bye!